So while she's trying to pull out my PowerPoint, let me explain. Originally, Nikon Young was going to give this representation on behalf of our company. How could you have that fully displayed? However, he is delayed elsewhere, so he cannot make it to here today. So I am here on his behalf giving this presentation. This is his PowerPoint, so I'm going to try my best to explain to you how RFID works in the food industry. I may chip in some of my own thoughts, but it's still largely based on his PowerPoints. First, who is Alien? We are called Alien Technology. We are an American company, and we focus on UHT, high-frequency RFID, headquartered in the U.S. We have a history of 20 years, and we are focused on ultra-high frequency RFID. And we see ourselves as a hardware provider of RFID. So basically, you could purchase everything from us, an entire set of solution of RFID from our company. And for all the time that we've existed, you may ask why RFID did not see this exponential growth years ago. Partly because it was really new technology and it was of high cost. Many industries could not bear such a high cost. So at Alien, we target to work to lower the cost and improve the technology so that it becomes more applicable in various industries. Alien used to be a wholly US-funded company. Now we are having some Chinese capitals as well. And we have R&D teams in both countries. Our manufacturing and sales spread all over the world. For instance, our fixed reader is produced in Taiwan. Our label and chip are manufactured in China, Israel, and our research and design takes place in the US as well as in China. So this is a sheet of all the products and services of Alien. Starting with IC, the basic RFID product. It's the chips that contain all the data. Of course, you cannot realize RFID with only chips. You need inlays or tags or labels. You see this small black spot, that is an IC. You incorporate this IC on this label, then you have this RFID inlay. And with this label, you could put it anywhere you want to manage or track the product. Unlike conventional packages, it's not read by bare eyes. And unlike QR code or barcode, you cannot use a cell phone to read the code. Rather, RFID, it takes either handheld or fixed reader to identify the code. With these facilities, you could do some small demos and tests of RFID. RFID is considered to be high-tech. So in the US and in China, we have training centers to train our clients or partners how to use RFID. And we hope with that training effort, we are going to boost the development of RFID industry. Many clients, they are unaware of the potentials of RFID, or they may have some misunderstandings of RFID. So with this training efforts of ours, we try to educate those clients or potential clients where they should place their expectations and how they should use RFID. So exactly what is RFID? RFID was invented by alien technology, by our company. Why did we invent this technology? We thought we want this to replace conventional barcode. The conventional barcode works in badges. So the same SKU has the same barcode, but RFID is single product based. So each individual product has its own RFID. So it's item specific, and its advantage is very apparent. You could track individual item using its RFID.
根据你的这个批次来去。
And also it's traceable by different batches. So how does RFID work? First of all, you have an RFID label. You put the label on your product, and then you have a reader to read it. So ultra frequency RFID, it is so-called sourceless, which means it doesn't have any battery inside. So all the reader come from the energy comes from reader. So the reader send an read command, and it's in its frequency, and it send it to the air. And in this air, all these label will receive this signal and energy. They absorb the energy and then feed this back to the reader. So without a reader, you cannot read the RFID data. RFID, probably you have not known very well. However, 7 or 8 years ago, it was invented. People were very excited about it. However, even up until 3 years ago, it was not widely accepted. It was a very slow process. Now, most clients begin to believe it now. So up until now, RFID market, what's it like? These are the trends for recent years. You will see that this is the usage, the number of labels from 2009 to 2016. So it was an exponential growth. So it was widely used in all kinds of industries, like fashion, footwear, retail goods, logistics, electronic products, white home appliance, supply chain, etc., food, drug, regulation, etc. the biggest usage, that's the purple one, that's the retail. So the biggest one is in costume. So the label used in the costume industry last year it was billions of labels. So this is a big market. And we hope that we would be able to popularize the usage to food industry because the requirements is similar. So that is the case that we're using. The biggest one is in costume, clothing. Now you only have several billing, but it only accounts for 1% of the apparel. So this market is giant, and more and more fashion producers are interested in using this because it helps them to manage the product. And then beverage, wine, they also use RFID to manage the product. And also like pharma industry, because it has a very important component, anti-theft. And after so many years, these are some of our clients. They felt the advantage of RFID. For example, stock taking. Stock taking is the area that RFID is mostly used because this is a radio signal. So it's different than the traditional one. You don't need to look at the code because the frequency actually can go through this box and you can read all the information in just 1 second. So that is why this is the advantage. The efficiency is very, very high. So for example, for a store, if you want to take stocks, if you want to sort out all the stock after 1 day of sale, you want to make sure that people who come next day would find the product that they want. For example, if they want one particular carton of milk, you have to present it in a proper place. But without RFID, this is a very, very complicated work. You will to scan all the clothes one by one. It takes 1 hour. But if you use RFID, in 1 second you can read hundreds of information. So to take stock of one shelf, it only takes 1 minute. So if you don't even have a warehouse, you have to tell your supplier to make quick delivery. If your stock take is not efficient, then you wouldn't be able to send the information to your supplier in a timely fashion to make sure of the timely delivery. So these are some examples of the apparel industry. So the need is similar in the food industry. Now, it is already widely used in the apparel industry. That is why we think RFID application will move gradually to food and other retail business. Apart from stock-taking efficiencies, there are some other advantages. It will increase the experience. For example, if the client is trying to try it on, so there are some reader in the locker and can read the information, and then it can combine with the Intel information, and then you will combine your client's image with the clothes and create a virtual trying on of this clothes. So this will increase in the experience. So when it comes to data analysis, it's also a useful way. For example, you also want to read how many clothes were tried on in one particular locker, and also like the HP company, their technology is also to enhance your customer's experience. Well, it's not to say that we will cut the procedures, but we will be able to improve the efficiency of each procedure so that the efficiency is overall greatly improved. To my understanding, RFID in all the industries, there are several important areas. First of all, it's the management of each SKU. You can manage each SKU's each product's quality, and you can customize it. I'll give you one example. One company in the US is producing body wash, but they create this function that you can customize body wash for pregnant women. For example, some additives may be harmful for pregnant women. But you cannot have a production line that is specially designed for the pregnant woman. But in the say there's a particular addictive that is harmful for pregnant women, then you can set an RFID equipment on this procedure. When the addictive is added, when this one particular bottom comes, the RFID equipment will know that this is for the pregnant woman, so they will not add the addictive. So that's some so-called single product management. Next, the supply chain management. This is also its advantage. Be it your supplier, when they make delivery, or be it your warehouse sending goods to your store. So normally it's one box. There's always lots of products inside. If you need to check, you have to open the box and then compare. That is to make sure that the things you send out are accurate. So normally, when the store is asking for delivery, they only have like 2 for one SKU, and they have two blue, two red, so it's difficult to do it manually. So you have to check it again, but you don't want to avoid this problem. But when you have more manual work involved, then first of all, you still have the error. And also in peak season and slack season, you don't have need of the same labor. So this is a challenge for the producer and the supplier.
But with RFID technology, you don't need to hire so many people to verify that the right products are sent to the right place. All you need is RFID portal at the gate of your warehouse, so that it will read each individual item at real time, and that tells you which products are being sent to where. So this boosts efficiency and saves human cost. From manufacturing to delivery, RFID can be applied to track each individual product. You might be a producer with hundreds of suppliers. These hundreds of suppliers provide you with hundreds of parts that are to be assembled. So with RFID technology, you could literally pre-tell or foretell at which stage each part is at this moment. So if those suppliers use RFID label, and you will be able to get these information. So this is how RFID could be applied during manufacturing. Now, some real-life cases in food industry. Why RFID has been so successful in clothing industry, but not that successful or not that widely used in food industry? That's because radio is something very volatile. For instance, while making a phone call, you do not have any signal within the elevator. That's because the radio signal is barred out. It cannot enter a metal box, and radio cannot go down deep into the ocean. That's because a radio signal, when it goes down to the bottom of the ocean, it weaks out. And RFID is based on radio technology. So it has certain requirements for clothing. The material is radio friendly. However, for food, water, metal, wherever there is water or there is metal, there is challenge or barrier to radio. If you put a label on a clothes, you can read it from very far, and you can read it from a paper box. But if the box is made of metal, there is no way you could read the RFID chip. If this label is placed on a bottle of water, this is also going to reduce the distance of which it could be read. That's why for all these years, RFID technology cannot be widely applied in food industry. However, we have been using it in some food-related industry. For instance, tray producer or this Czech bakery. So this is as far as we could go. We put RFID label to each crate, but we cannot go to individual item in this food industry so far. So with this partner, we place RFID chip to each crate, and this is beef processor. They've been putting RFID tag to each crate, to each toad, to identify different parts of the cow meat, so that customers could choose according to their likes and price preferences. This is a water-related case. These are water bottles that are recycled by our clients. So once the water is used, the client, the manufacturer, is going to recycle the bottle. However, there is a life span of this bottle. It's like 45 times. So for each refill, the RFID is going to give a read. And after like 45 or 50th read has been made, this bottle needs to be discarded. Why can this be achieved? For instance, metal would totally bar out radio signal. However, water does not. Water shortens or reduces the distance of which radio signal could be sent, but it's still readable. That's why this could be achieved with a water bottle manufacturer. So while RFID, it does not require an overall reshuffle of your industry. It only requires the building of certain RFID facility in your manufacturing or chain. And it helps you to manage the quality of your products, helps you to reduce shipping errors, and it helps you to achieve timely delivery. So it's automated, it's high efficiency, real-time and accurate technology. Look at these three pictures on the bottom. The one on the left is a regular RFID tag that goes with a clothing label. It can come in various forms, in various industries. If your product is plastic, then it might come in one form. If your product is a piece of clothing, then the RFID tag might come in another form. So our team would tailor the right kind of RFID tag according to your need and your product, so that it, once attached to your product, can be read from the longest distance. So that was passive. Well, the other two are RFID with batteries. For instance, in cold chain logistics, if you want to know who is the producer of this dairy product, or if you want to know the temperature history, you need to have this battery-assisted passive BAP RFID technology to realize that. This is not something that a passive RFID could do. So when our clients have such requirements, we would also meet their requirements by these active or battery-assisted. Thanks. So if you have any questions for Mr. Chen, please raise your hand. I've got one question. You said that if a box has 100 pieces of clothing in it, then within 1 second, the RFID could read the information. However, if there are 2 boxes, each with 100 pieces of clothing in it, do you think there will be any interruption while you are trying to read box A from box B? For instance, if there are 2 trays being sent out of the warehouses, then at the gate of the warehouse you have this reader that reads the trays RFID information. All I have to say is, if you want to distinguish, then you have to put them in different trays. You cannot read the same time 10 boxes or 2 boxes. You need to go box by box. Correct. Because so far, radio signal cannot be that accurate. What we could guarantee is if there is a gate here, there are multiple trays beside this gate. But all we could guarantee is that for anything that goes through this gate, we can read it accurately.